Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 1223 of the Juicebox Podcast. Today we're going to be talking with Laurie. She's the 52-year-old mom of a child living with type 1 diabetes. We're going to talk a little bit about the beginning of the diagnosis, where Laurie had some panic attacks and her child had some intrusive thoughts. We'll talk about that and much more on this episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan. Use my offer code JUICEBOX at checkout when you go to CozyEarth.com and you will save 30% on everything. Pajamas, towels, sheets, whatever is cozy at CozyEarth.com. You're going to pay 30% less when you use the offer code JUICEBOX. Let's not forget, if you're a U.S. resident who has type 1 diabetes or is the caregiver of someone with type 1, you can make a huge difference in type 1 diabetes research by going to t1dexchange.org/juicebox and completing the survey. That's it. You don't have to go to a doctor's office or anything. Just answer some simple questions and you'll help move type 1 diabetes research forward. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Eversense CGM. Eversense is going to let you break away from some of the CGM norms you may be accustomed to. No more weekly or bi-weekly hassles of sensor changes. Never again will you be able to accidentally bump your sensor off. You won't have to carry around CGM supplies. And worrying about your adhesive lasting? Well, that's a thing of the past. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by AG1. Drink AG1.com/juicebox. Head there now to learn more about AG1. It's vegan-friendly, gluten-free, dairy-free, non-GMO, no sugar added, no artificial sweeteners. And when you make your first order with my link, you're going to get AG1 and a welcome kit that includes a shaker, scoop, and canister. You're also going to get 5 free travel packs and a year's supply of vitamin D with that first order at drinkag1.com/juicebox. And one more thing. The podcast is sponsored today by Omnipod 5. Get rid of your FOMO at omnipod.com/juicebox. That's right. I said FOMO. I didn't say FOMO. I didn't say FOMO. I said FOMO. And for all of you coming at me online, I don't care. Keep coming. Omnipod.com/juicebox.
Hi, my name is Laurie. I am 52 and I am the mother of a type 1 who's had it about a year and a half. He's going to be 12 this month.
Okay. Was he diagnosed as he was 10, becoming 11?
He was diagnosed at about 10 and a half. Yeah.
Okay. And I like how you included that you were 52.
Because I was really old when I had kids. I had 40 and 44 when I had my kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Once was on purpose. And then the second time
was after a
my
wedding.
husband was supposed to get the vasectomy. And all of a sudden he was taking so long to do it. Then I changed my mind about a year later. And I was like, nope, let's try. And then we tried and failed a bunch of times. In like 14 months, we had 4 pregnancies and she came the last time.
Oh my gosh.
But we believe, I don't know what you believe in, but like we believe in, she kept trying to come until it was the time to come. And then she came. So I don't think of it as like 3 deaths. And then I think that every time was her until it was the perfect scenario to come.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Laurie, I have to tell you, I don't think I believe in anything. I don't even mean like spiritually. Like, I just mean like, I think stuff happens. And but
no, I definitely do. We definitely believe more in my family with like spirituality and stuff.
Oh, it's lovely. It really is. Okay, so the beginning of diagnosis, let's go through it then. So first of all, any autoimmune in your family, any reason to think a child might have diabetes, anything like that?
You would, except that nobody thinks about diabetes until you have diabetes. But yeah, my husband has Hashimoto's. I had thyroid cancer, but that's not anything that's hereditary.
Yeah, when did you have that?
When Caden's my son, when Caden was 6 months old, they found it, but it probably grew while I was pregnant.
I was going to say right at the beginning of your 40s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how did they handle that? Is it full removal or what do they do?
It was actually strange because I took him to the pediatrician at 6 months old. And like when you're older and you go to the OBGYN, they're supposed to check your thyroid and everything. And nobody ever did. And I took Kaden for a 6-month checkup and she's like looking down at him and doing all this stuff, looks up at me real quick, looks back down. She did it like twice and looks back down. She's like, you have to get your throat checked. And I was like, and I always had like an Adam's apple because I was like, no, it's nothing. She's like, no, you have to like actually go get it like biopsied. And a month later, I had it removed and they give you a radioactive iodine pill afterwards. And then you have to quarantine somewhere for a week. But yeah,
because you can't get sick during that time.
I don't think it's a major immune thing. I think that you're radioactive. I mean, I know that you're radioactive, so you can't get in an airplane for a while. You can't be around your kid because you're radioactive. Like you have to clean your phone, everything that you've touched. So I literally kicked my mom out of her apartment to go stay with a friend. And I stayed in her apartment for a week.
I have to look into this. This totally feels like something you made up, but I'm sure it's not.
No, they give you the pill through this clear tube. And the guy walks in completely masked, like completely covered, and just pops the thing into your hand through this tube that he can't touch. And then you leave. And then you go straight to wherever you're being quarantined.
How about that? If you live or work with other people, you will need to keep a distance from them.
Yeah.
Avoid standing or sitting close to them. This stops them from getting radiation from you. Your doctor will tell you not to have close, lengthy contact with others for a couple of weeks.
Yep. We did it a little earlier than that, but because the half-life or the shelf life, whatever you call it, the half-life, I think is pretty quick.
Yeah.
But I came home like 6 days later because it was hellish sitting there.
Well, thank you for teaching me something new. That's really something. Did any of the plants die in the room where you went to her?
I don't think she had plants then.
Oh, okay.
No, but I remember she made me all this food because they were like, oh, you feel totally fine. You just chill at home for a week and, watch TV. But I felt like the entire week. I was so nauseous. I wanted to be home with Kaden. He was only 9 months old at the time. Yeah. It sucked.
Why did you wait till you're 40 to have kids? Or did you not wait? A lot of people in my private Facebook group talk about their love for Omnipod 5. Have you seen those posts and thought, oh, I wish I could have that experience with an insulin pump too? If you answered yes, you might be experiencing FOMO, fear of missing out on Omnipod. Symptoms may include, but are not limited to, wishing you could wear outfits without pockets, or fantasizing about jumping into a swimming pool without disconnecting from your insulin pump first. Maybe you've dreamt about walking past doorknobs without getting caught on your tubing. Good news, you don't have to suffer from FOMO any longer. You can see what you're missing by trying Omnipod 5 for yourself. Visit omnipod.com/juicebox to get started. That's omnipod.com/juicebox. Get rid of that FOMO, fear of missing out on Omnipod.
No, I didn't wait on purpose. I just didn't want to be like, no offense to anybody else, but I didn't want to be like the single mom waitress that was like struggling to pay every bill. Like I wanted to at least be in a comfortable situation where I didn't have to stress all the time.
Oh, you had not yet tricked a man into buying you things?
No, I didn't trick him until 38. And then I found him online and then he wanted to get married first. And I was like, no, I can't. I need no stress to be able to have a child. So let's have the child first and then we'll have the stress of the wedding. And that's what we did. So I was pregnant when we got married.
Wow. There's a guy. That's a trusting guy right there.
I'm really forceful and I can be bossy. So it was like, this is what we're going to do, ABC, and this is what you're going to do. He even went to a therapist and he's like, we were talking and I'm not sure if I'm going to have any more kids because he has an older daughter. And I was like, oh yeah, no, you will. Don't worry about it. You will. He just follows.
Is he older than you or did he have his daughter?
No, same exact age, but that's Michael's MO. He just sort of follows.
All right. Well, this sounds like you started a cult of one and and this guy's just listening to everything you're saying. He does. My mission in life is literally, I am the one in charge. I'm the one that handles everything. That's just known. And I think it's a family thing because my aunt is like that too. And so is my sister. That's funny. Does it translate into the diabetes stuff? Do you have a tough time letting other people help you with your child's diabetes?
Me and my son do it 100%. I love my husband, but he doesn't try as hard as us. So like from day one, I told Kaden, we're in it together, but this is your disease too. And you have to learn absolutely everything that I learned in the day-to-day. So we learned everything together. Even from day one in the hospital, we learned everything together. And he's really good at math, which helped. But my husband just didn't get it, or he's scared to make a decision. And I get it. He's scared to make a decision because I make the decisions.
Yeah, he's scared of you, not diabetes.
Yeah, he's scared of me, 100%. So, but then he was scared of the diabetes. And then I would get annoyed because I was like, you don't know how to fix this in the PDM. You don't know how to adjust his numbers, MDI. It just ended up making me so mad that it was forget it.
I was going to ask you when you said he doesn't try as hard. Do you really think he doesn't try as hard, or do you just think
100%?
Are you sure he's not standing up to where you want it to be?
He's scared to fail. He's scared he would hurt Caden, which was a big thing. But that wasn't fair because I was terrified I was going to hurt Caden. This is going to sound so conceited, but he knows that I'm going to do it better. So he'd rather me just do it. But in the beginning, when it was so stressful and I was, having all these emotional breaks, I needed somebody to help me. And Caden was the one who helped me, not Michael,
Oh, you've painted a confusing picture here, Laurie. That's good, though. I don't think we're here to delve into your psychology or your relationship. No. I don't know you very well. I know you 15 minutes. But you've said a couple of things. I would be interested. Is it, I take your point, by the way, about he doesn't want to make a mistake. I felt that way. You don't want to do something wrong. You don't want to hurt somebody. There's a fearfulness there. I completely understand that. And that 100 million % could be what happens. But I also think you said things like, he might be scared of me, not of the diabetes. And sometimes it's easier just to step back than to get, I don't know if you yell, but yelled at.
I don't yell.
Well, whatever,
I don't
whatever
yell.
You do.
I just get annoyed. Yeah.
Quiet. Do you do the quiet Catholic thing?
Yeah. Not Catholic in a heartbeat, but yes.
But you
do that.
Yeah. You shut down so that they know that you're upset.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's not healthy, Laura. I just wanted to let you know.
No, I know it's not. And in the same breath, I'll be I'll cry. I have very few moments of crying, but I'll cry and I'll be like, I need help. I'm losing it. I need help. But I guess, it's such opposite ends of the spectrum that he can't win.
Yeah, right. Oh, there you go. See, I was waiting for you to get to it. You've put him in a no-win situation. Yes, there you go.
Yes. No, I totally get it. But it was just so hard in the beginning. It was I'm telling you, I'm losing it. It's so funny. I'm the strongest person I know. And I swear I sound conceited in this thing, but I'm not. But I'm the strongest person that I know to deal with situations. But sometimes I'll lose it in the beginning and have to get through that. And then I'm great. I can handle the rest. But I can lose it in the beginning of huge situations, I
don't think that's uncommon at all. So
no.
Tell me about that. So the diagnosis comes, you're in the hospital, the pressure's hitting you, and what happens?
And the nurses are stupid because it's you go and we found out really quickly. I really trust my intuition. So 5 days into him peeing the bed, sometimes twice a night, I knew he had to go. So he was 8.65 A1C. He was 432, his sugars. So it wasn't horrible. And so we go to the hospital. Best endo ever comes and meets us and talks to us. And he's our endo now. But the nurses, they don't tell you shit. And then they'll give him, and then they wouldn't feed him for almost 24 hours. And then they hand him a whole pizza, a whole peanut butter and jelly Crustable, a whole burger with French fries. And then they're dosing him what? You totally just made up this number. And then he'll shoot up to 432 again. So then I'm bawling because he was 432 when he went in.
Yeah. It took us 24 hours of not feeding him to get to this. And now it seems to you like adding food puts you right back in that situation.
Yeah,
again.
You put me right back in the same position. And now what the heck am I doing? And I literally didn't even have a clue. I guess I didn't process it further because I didn't know he would be doing the needles and the shots. To me, I must have just gone one step at a time and didn't go further in my head. I didn't even research it besides joining Facebook groups the next day. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize everything I would have to do. And putting in a needle in your kid, to me, is the absolute most anxiety provoking thing in the world. The worst.
It's hard at first. Did you get used to it?
No. I had panic attacks for 2 months and I lost 20 pounds. And I'm telling you, I'm really small anyway. And I lost 20 pounds and I couldn't eat.
You're on the
MDI. I had to go to a doctor and get me something. You have got to make me eat.
Oh, so it really did. It put you into a spiral.
Yeah, because I was terrified. I mean, the Dex is great, but the Dex is also terrifying. And when nobody explains it to you, and before I started listening to you, we would feed him and dose him and then watch that Dex like a freaking hawk to see if it would go down at all. And we'd be terrified if it went down at all. But if it was like an hour later, we knew we could breathe. So we would literally watch the Dexcom the whole time that he ate.
Oh, that's
and if it went backwards at all in the beginning, you were dying. And then every night, it's definitely like the first night that we came home, I had a full-on panic attack, like full-on, the worst I've ever had. And I've had like 3 in my life. And Caden was amazing. He would like hug me every time we were stressed. And he would be like, Mom, insulin does this, carbs do this, you'll be okay, blah, blah, blah. But every night that I went to sleep, I knew the next morning when I woke up, I had to stick a needle back in him. And I couldn't deal with the stress of that. So I had panic attacks for literally 2 months straight. Like I couldn't do anything. I would do anything to not be the one to have to give him the needle, but I would, because what else am I supposed to do? And he wasn't even super affected by it. It was just pushing it in his skin that did it for me.
Was it a psychological or a visceral thing? Like, do you have trouble with like the feeling?
No. I have 9,000 tattoos. I have no. It was just
the idea that you were sticking a needle.
Your child.
Yeah. No, I understand. It's not easy.
No.
You couldn't just make Michael do that part?
He works. So I work, but I work from home doing a bunch of different things. But, he's gone. And I didn't 100% trust him in the beginning. I didn't.
Laurie, when you were a child, who broke your trust when you were a child?
Both of my parents.
Both of them?
Yes, 100%. I was called the lost child. I did things on my own. I'm completely different than the rest of my family. Yeah, no, 100%. I grew up quickly as a child.
Well, that man was willing to impregnate you without any kind of a contract. So I think he's fairly trustworthy.
No, he's great. He's great. It's just big life decisions he doesn't want to make. And I am the one to do them. And just, I don't know. I am definitely mama bear with my kids, like 100%. And I've always felt that with Caden more. Like there's just something he needs to be protected by. I feel like he came to earth that way. So I trust myself to do it.
I have a hypothetical question.
Mm-hmm.
None of these people in our lives exist. You and I get together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm completely willing to make decisions. I think you've heard the podcast. I have a lot of thoughts and I trust them. So I go forward. I'm like, I'm the one who's like, we're going to do this. We're doing that. We're doing this. We're doing that. I'm happy. Like, and do you lay back and go, oh, thank God he's taking care of it? Or do you just fight me on it?
I don't think I would fight you. I think just from day one, I was the one in charge in our marriage. And that was just how it was. Like, I've never been like that with other people. It was just, that's how our marriage laid itself out to be. So if I'm in charge, I have to be in charge of the big things.
But it laid itself out like that, or you set it up like that?
No, it laid itself out like that. I've never had that. I mean, I've always been a strong personality, but I've never been, I'm in charge, I tell you. Mm-hmm. Michael's just more laid back, and it was.
So he's happy to have somebody tell him what to do.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. He can't deal with a lot of stress. I don't know if you've ever heard these, but there's like different dramas that different people are. And Michael's definitely, and I love Michael. It's going to sound like I don't, but Michael's definitely like poor me. Like he gets stuck in the victim mentality, and his family is more like that. So he'll be like, I don't feel good. I can't do this. We're not ever going to be able to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I can't be like that. That's not helpful. That's not great to put out into the universe. Like you can't be like that. And I certainly don't want you to have that mentality taking care of Caden.
Okay. I got you. You should be here. My wife doesn't like to be told what to do, and either do I. It's such a party.
I couldn't do it.
It's such a party.
I used to ask him in the beginning, like, I just need you to make some of the decisions. I just need you to make some of the decisions. And he just never really did. So I had to. And then once I got into that position, then that was it. And I know that's for the betterment of my kids. So I take it on. I don't think I took it on like to be a bitch. I just think I took it on because that's how I had to be.
Right. I learned how to pick the restaurant finally. But in the beginning, I would pick a restaurant. At first, I thought I was supposed to pick the restaurant that I wanted to pick. I was supposed to pick a restaurant that she wants to go to. I didn't know that at first.
Yes.
That confused me. That confused me at first. And once that happened, and I was like never right, and everybody was mad that we were at a place that I enjoyed that nobody else liked, I said, well, it's up to you. But then she'd be mad at me for not choosing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, because you can't win. Yeah. We go to where me and the kids like, and but Michael will also say, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do. And I mean, on the weekends, I used to be like, can you plan something? No, whatever you guys want to do. I'm happy going wherever. I'm like, I'm not happy.
No, you don't understand. I'm going to stick up for Michael for a second, because if you make a decision, then everybody's up your ass about it later. So you can't win. Listen, I'm going to tell you something happened on Saturday. Today's podcast is sponsored by the Eversense CGM. Boasting a 6-month sensor, the Eversense CGM offers you these key advantages: distinct on-body vibe alerts when high or low, a consistent and exceptional accuracy over a 6-month period, and you only need 2 sensors per year. No longer will you have to carry your CGM supplies with you. You won't have to be concerned about your adhesive not lasting, accidentally knocking off a sensor, or wasting a sensor when you have to replace your transmitter. That's right, there's no more weekly or bi-weekly hassles of sensor changes. Not with the Eversense CGM. It's implantable and it's accurate. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. The Eversense CGM is the first and only long-term CGM. Eversense sits comfortably right under the skin in your upper arm, and it lasts way longer than any other CGM sensor. Never again will you have to worry about your sensor falling off before the end of its life. So if you want an incredibly accurate CGM that can't get knocked off and won't fall off, you're looking for the Eversense CGM. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. In a research study, AG1 was shown to double the amount of healthy bacteria in the gut. These help with digestion and immune health. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by AG1. And I trust AG1 because, unlike so many other products, their entire formula is backed by research studies. AG1 recently posted some research studies online, and at 30 days, 80% of people in the study noticed less gas and bloating. 97% in that same study felt more energy. At 60 days, 91% of people in the research study noticed they needed less coffee. If there's one product I trust to support my whole body health, it's AG1, and that's why I've partnered with them for so long. It's easy and satisfying to start your journey with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/juicebox. That's drinkag1.com/juicebox. Check it out. So the kids are not here, right? Arden's away at school right now. Cole's still at his job in Atlanta, although he's coming back pretty soon. Anyway, my wife and I've been trying to make sure that we go out once on the weekend for like a lunch together, right? Because we work a lot. And even though we're in the same house, we don't see each other much during the week. So we get up on Saturday, get showers, the dogs do whatever they're going to do. And then I'm like, let's go get something to eat. Like, let's go have our first meal of the weekend out somewhere. So I chose the restaurant I knew she wanted to go to, even though it makes me nauseous. I just went anyway. And she has this one kind of like high top booth that she enjoys at this specific restaurant. It turns out there's a bench on 2 sides of the table. On the third side, there's kind of like bar chairs. And every time I've ever gone there with her, there's been other people in our family or other people. I've always sat in the bar chair while everybody else is across this like L-shaped bench.
He'll never have the booth. The guy never has the booth.
Yeah. And so on Saturday, I got there with her and I was like, oh, like I started pulling out the bar chair and I'm like, oh, I can go sit on the other side where I see my son sit or my daughter sit or friends come with us. And I sat down and I thought, this is so much fucking better. I can't believe this. You motherfuckers leave me over there on that hard goddamn bar stool every time we come here. I hate this.
The worst.
I hate this fucking food. And I sit here uncomfortable, out in the aisle, cold, the whole thing. I was like, and you're all living like this over here? I didn't know. Like, I'm just the fucking driver they let eat. I was like, son of a bitch. I knew it.
Yes. My son's taken over the booth. And I was like, no. I used to work in a restaurant and every single person wants the booth. And my family's Jewish. I know it's going to sound horrible too, but my family's Jewish. And it was such a Jewish thing too, to ask for the booth. Like if you go to like a Jewish restaurant or whatever, every single older person asks for the booth. Never wants a table.
Yeah, I see. It's not as much about the booth to me, Laurie, as it is about it's about that there was a better place to sit.
Yeah.
And I never once got that opportunity.
Yeah. No, the single chair sucks. I agree with you.
They put me there on purpose.
Yeah. You were the dad.
Yeah. This is my point. You're getting to it now. Everyone goes to the comfortable scenario, and I'm okay with it because that's the part you do as a dad. I know this is a bizarre, example of it, but yeah, like I'll take what's left. Like you guys go enjoy yourself. I'll take what's left.
Yeah, and I'll pay at the end.
And then I'll pay for it. Yeah.
Yes, completely.
And then we'll go home and I won't have sex.
That's my house too. We have the same house.
Wait a minute. Okay. All right. I got the whole thing. Now I know what's going on. All right. Anyway, so you were sad. You didn't enjoy it. Panic attacks. Not cool, by the way. I mean, losing weight is more than panic attacks. Like you're in a bad situation. So you went to the doctor. They gave you something to help you eat.
Nexium, freaking reflux medicine. I was like, no, I need something to help me eat. She's like, no, you have acid built up so bad from not eating for so long. You just need to stop the acid. And she did. She was right. Like a week later, I was eating a little bit. And then I got back down to my weight.
Nice. Why did you say earlier the nurses don't know what they're doing?
They're not helpful at all. They don't explain anything. I know you don't pre-bolus. I know they don't do any of that stuff, but like I would be bawling because I was terrified of like his numbers going up or what was happening. And you were sitting there the first 24 hours until Dr. Marwa came in and nobody explains anything. And then here's your shot. And you just went back up to 400s. So what is that any different than what I had him at home with?
This is emergency room?
Children's Hospital in Maryland. At
this point, you've been intake, like you're up in the children's hospital. This is not the emergency room.
Went to the pediatrician and
okay. How did you know, by the way? You said like the peeing made you go, but you knew diabetes or you just knew something was wrong? I
thought he had a UTI.
Okay. I don't think boys get those very often, do they?
I think little kids can. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just had the thought in my head. It must be that. I mean, he peed his bed late. Like he stopped at like 9. So he already had like physiological stuff that it was late. But then it was like every night in a row, something's wrong. And then one of the nights he did it, cleaned up, went back to bed and peed again. Mm-hmm. So I just called the pediatrician that morning and I was like, I'm coming. And an hour later, he's like, yeah, you got to go to Children's Hospital. And I hadn't told Michael that I was taking him to the doctors because I was like, well, he has a UTI.
No reason to include him.
I'm not thinking about it. Well, because I always just take the kids to the doctors when they need to go to the doctors. And Michael will say to wait. But I knew I wasn't supposed to wait. So I had to call him when I was leaving. I was like, oh, Caden has diabetes. We're going to the Children's Hospital. I'm coming to get you.
I've decided to let you in on this now.
Oh, by the way, you have to stay with me the whole time because I'm going to freak. Yeah.
I'm about to have a spastic attack. Johns Hopkins, a UTI is unlikely in boys of any age. It can occur in boys if part of the urinary tract is blocked. Uncircumcised boys are more at risk than circumcised boys. A child with a part or full blockage in the urinary tract is more likely to develop a UTI. It sounds it goes on and on.
I'm glad I didn't know that then.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
The only thing that got me.
Yeah. It got you there, but you weren't right.
No, I was not right. Not even close.
Laurie, does it make you wonder what else you're not right about?
My husband.
I mean, you gotta let that guy off the leash. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
You might have thoughts and everything. Who knows?
Not very many. He does. He's great. I serve my purpose in the marriage, and Michael serves his purpose.
What's your purpose?
To do everything.
What's his purpose?
To work. Pay the bills. And he's great with the kids. He's the best father. Like he really is. He's a great father. And that's partly why we were together is I knew he was going to make a great dad and I knew we'd be great partners.
Why is he a good father?
He just has a really sweet disposition. Like he might not discipline ever. Like he'll call my name upstairs or he'll be like, Caden's not listening to me. And then that's it. And so Caden just keeps doing whatever he's doing because they will not listen to Michael because he's never disciplined, like ever. But the sweetest person to them.
I generally think that's what people mean when they say that. He's such a good dad means he doesn't yell or get upset.
No, none of us yell. We're just not yellers, but I'm definitely more authoritative.
But that's what you mean though when you say he's a good dad, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He's just sweet to them. He talks to them like he talks to me or like he talks to anybody else. Like it's friends, you know?
Yeah. Hey, Laurie, this isn't directed at you. It's for everybody listening.
Mm-hmm.
That's an incredibly low bar to set.
100%. I agree.
I think it's possible that we could expect more from each other and actually get it instead
100%.
of setting the bar so low that he's just like, if I don't yell, this is all good for me. And I see the boobs twice a month.
I think this is going to sound, I think I've said this is going to sound harmful like 10 times, but I think when I got married, it was 40 years old. It wasn't in my 20s. It wasn't. I really was looking to find somebody that was a great partner.
Stable.
That was going to be a good dad. And it was a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think that's it for him. So that's a problem. But for me, that's what it was. It was like, I'm 50. I'm not in my 20s. I'm not trying to like screw every 2 seconds. Like I'm in menopause. I really don't care about screwing at this point. So it was more about, you know, I just want somebody to be with, but not like in a desperate way.
What's the saying? First time for love, second time for money.
Yeah. Well, there's no money, but
you
second time for kids.
But yeah, but
second time for kids.
Isn't that the saying though? First time for love.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I Google,
but I waited until I was 40. So there was no first, but I also dated assholes when I was younger. So this one was like complete opposite, totally over the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, by the way, it's not a they say. Jacqueline Kennedy said it.
Oh, really?
In a Forbes interview. The first time you marry for love, the second for money, and the third for companionship.
Oh, well, I'm on my third.
Wait, is this your third marriage?
No, it's my first, but it's my third.
But you just jumped to the third because you were older.
Yes. No, it's my first.
Well, there's a lot of great quotes here. My wife was too beautiful for words, but not for arguments.
But we get along. It just feels like a partnership to me. And I know that. I think for me, it's just content. He's not content.
Hold on. Japanese proverb. A good husband is healthy and absent.
That's so true.
I think that's what you just said. Yeah.
I love Michael. I do. But it's not like when you were younger and it was the butterflies and, oh my God, can we all the time? And, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right.
He's never going to listen to this podcast ever.
Well, I wouldn't imagine you would tell him about this. No, because I'm assuming he could use this in court at some point.
He probably could, except I'd have the kids anyway. That's a given.
Last one. Ann Landers. The poor wish to be rich. The rich wish to be happy. The single wish to be married. And the married wish to be dead.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. I like being married. I would never want to be by myself anymore. Like, that's hard. I mean, I see my mom and stuff. I wouldn't want to be by myself. Can you imagine, just especially during COVID, if you were like living alone, like nobody? That's hard. I like the unit that I have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah.
Sadly for Michael, you didn't mean his penis when you said unit, but I hear what you're saying.
No, I did not.
Yeah. That's okay. It's fine.
I fake it.
Jesus Christ, Laurie. No single people are ever going to get married after they hear this.
Everybody fakes it. My doctor told me to fake it. She's like, he's a good guy. He's sweet. Like, you love him. Just fake it once a week. And I was like, okay. That's what I do.
So upsetting. I'm going to tell you what I told my wife the other day. She's got, as you know, the pneumonia, because I mentioned it earlier in the thing. And she's beat up. She's actually had long COVID, which I want to have her on here to talk about at some point once she has a complete, like, beginning to end experience with long COVID. But it was starting to get better. And then she's like, got pneumonia. And of course, now that's staying with her longer because she was already run down, all the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Plus her immune system is probably shot.
It's terrible. So she's like 10 days into this pneumonia. She looks at me like real seriously after getting out of the shower and she goes, I think this is what's going to kill me. And I was like, and I'm like, oh, you're going to be okay. It's taken forever and it's beating you up and everything. And like, I'm trying to be positive and all that stuff. And she goes, no, seriously. She goes, you lost weight at the right time because you're going to be dating again. And we're joking around about her not feeling well. And I said, like, real super seriously, I'm like, I don't think I'd get married again.
Mm-mm.
And she goes, no. And I said, no, I think I'd just maybe hookers. Like, I think I'd go hookers. Yeah. And I don't think, by the way, as I say that for like a Actually, I'm not trying to be funny. I think I'm trying to make a bigger statement. It's also not a thing I would do.
Mm-mm.
So what I'm really saying is, I would just choose to be alone because I can't, like, if I date somebody, I'm too old now.
Yeah.
Like, I know what I like. Like, and I don't just mean in women, I mean in life. And how am I going to possibly find somebody who matches up in that many scenarios, who's also physically attractive and doesn't annoy me and likes some of the things I like and like understands who I am? And none of that's going to come again. Like, I got this out of being with Kelly for like over 20. I mean, we've been together a really long time.
Totally. But you also had kids and everything else with her. So there were way more important life decisions. Like, I think once you get older into those years, you can just find somebody to have split a sandwich with and go to, like, you know. Yeah.
The one thing I find about having a long relationship, like we got married in 96. So it's 2000. It's almost 30 years. Then a couple of years, I'll be married for 30 years in a couple of years. Right. And we got married when we were young. So we kind of grew up together. We matured together. But more importantly, I know all the shit we've been through, like all of it. And so like sometimes like Kelly's not the same. Like, she'll get mad at me still, but like, she's like, you'd never get mad at me. And I'm like, no, I'm like, I know who you are. Like, even if you're having a bad moment, like, I know that's not you. Like, right. Like, I have a big context to pull from. But if I had to re-meet somebody, let's say Kelly gets the pneumonia and it kills her, right? And she's gone in a couple of months. Yeah. It's such a horrible thought, but okay, she dies. And I set the kids up. I'm like, hey, don't worry. Like, there's insurance money or something like that, whatever makes them comfortable. Like, and mommy, like, you know, like, she loves you. And they're older and they move on a little bit. And I still parent them through this whole thing. I'm going to get horny at some point. Like, so that's going to happen. And then what do I do? Like, what am I going to go out and meet somebody? Who am I going to meet? Like everyone's either married or I got to go back 10 years. I can't believe I'm saying this. This is terrible. And I got to find somebody nobody else wanted. Or they got, or I get lucky and their spouse died. Like, what is it I'm hoping for exactly? You know what I mean? So.
A 3-year-old high school.
No.
Girls from high school? No, never.
No.
It's harder for guys too.
I can't imagine.
Girl can go and pick up easy. I might not be able to like date, but you could definitely hook up for the night.
Want to hear something terrible? I'm older, but I don't see myself as old.
Me neither.
Right?
Me neither.
So if I look at a person in their mid-50s, I'm going to be like, this old lady. Like, what am I looking for here?
Yes.
But when I look at my wife, she looks 21 to me.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I feel in my 20s when I talk to people in my 50s, I feel like I'm a child, like way younger. So yeah, no, I totally get that. Yeah.
I rolled into a pizza joint to pick a pizza up the other day. And, you know, it's like high school or college age girls. They're like 18, 19 that are working behind the counter and everything. This one girl's like kind of like sunken back and she's leaning on the counter and she's got a look on her face that immediately said to me, I wish I wasn't here or I'm cold. I couldn't tell which one it was. So as I'm waiting for my stuff, I look at her in the face and I go, hey, are you cold or bored?
Oh, did you really?
And she peps up and she goes, cold. And she starts walking towards me. She goes, how did you know? And I said, I can tell by your face. You're either cold or you wish you were done. I couldn't tell which one it was. She goes, and then she starts talking. She lights up. She's like 19 years old. She lights up. She starts talking. I'm cold, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, why don't you go back by the ovens and warm up? And she goes, I don't want to be in anybody's way. And I'm like, you won't be back there long. Like, go back and warm up. It'll be okay. Like, just tell them I'm cold. I need to warm up. Yeah. And she's like, you could see her kind of get the nerve. She's like, I will. And I was like, until then, I slid my pizza forward. I said, hold your hands over my pizza. Right. And so she's like, she's literally got her hands out like it's a campfire.
That's sweet.
This is nice. And I'm like, right. And she's warming up her hands. And then she looks down at the bill to see my name. And she goes, hey, thank you, Scott. And I was like, that's no trouble at all. I was like, I enjoyed talking to you. And she's like, me too. And I realized like she just needed to be engaged. Like young people don't not want to talk. They don't know how to start conversations.
Yes.
Right.
Or they want to be smart ass and funny instead of.
Yeah. But here's the other side of it. If you watch this lovely back and forth from 10 feet away, I look like an old man talking to young girls.
Trying to pick up a 19-year-old.
100%. Right. And that's going to be my problem is that when from a distance, I'm going to be like, I don't.
What am I doing? Yeah. Completely.
Yeah. Because listen. My hair's still dark, Laurie. I'm on Wegovy. I'm thin now.
I know. I
And
heard.
if Kelly dies, I'm going to have insurance money. I could easily reach into mid-30s. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I would automatically reach into the mid-30s. I would never date my age. Never. Never.
Laurie, I wish we were friends, but I would never want to be in any way in a relationship with you.
In a relationship with me. I have to be the strong one. I have to be the strong one. That's it. Nobody else is going to be the strong one. Nobody else is going to take care of the stuff. So I have to. For my kids, I have to.
But that's from the way you grew up, though. No?
I mean, no, I don't remember my childhood, like at all. Don't remember teachers, don't remember moments, like nothing. I don't remember. But I just know that Michael was just more laid back and nobody made the decisions unless I did.
Okay.
And then after I had the kids and I was so into them, I had to make the decisions because who was going to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you think you were ever going to recover from the beginning?
Of Caden?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I'd had panic attacks before. I had, the first day of COVID, I had a panic attack, and then I switched my Synthroid to the Armor Thyroid, and it was the worst decision I ever made. And I had 30 days of panic attacks straight, did not stop. And I finally went to the hospital, and they said, "Do you want to go to a mental hospital?" And it's so opposite of anything I would ever have done before. I mean, of course, if you need it. But I was like, yeah, because I thought that they would help me. And then I was there 12 hours and I was terrified. I wanted to get out so bad. And then we realized it was the thyroid medication that was doing it.
Yeah.
So
why did you switch to Armor? People don't know this, but like panic attacks or just even irritability, that's a thyroid thing. So,
completely. And when your thyroid goes nuts, and my thyroid, I mean, my levels are crazy anyway. I'll be 0.03 one day and 12 the next. And I'm never the same. It never stays the same. And my endo is on it, but it just, sometimes I forget to take it. I mean, I'm sure it's part of my fault too, but it just never really stayed the same. I just wanted to see if I could try something cheaper because the Synthroid's freaking expensive. So I just wanted to see if I could try something that was so much cheaper. And she even warned me, but I was like, I just want to try. And she's like, never do that again. And any side effect of anything I will get. It could be the most random. They're like, well, this isn't a side effect. Well, it is for me. I got rhabdomyolysis, whatever it's called. It's this fatal thing from cholesterol medicine. And had to go to the hospital, cholesterol medicine. That's so stupid.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. That does sound stupid.
It is. But it was there's these chemicals released in your muscles when you work out and stuff, or I guess different things. But the rhabdo, throws all of it out at one time. So these numbers are sky high and it's completely fatal.
No kidding. Well,
and it was from statins.
Jeez. Did you need them really? Because I think sometimes those are just things they're pushing nowadays.
I always run in the 230s, 250s. My family has high cholesterol. So it's genetic. It's not really, what I'm eating. So she switched me to the other one that's, I don't know, you know how you say it, but it's a different kind. It's not a statin, and that's been fine.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so things are obviously, you have other variables going on besides your son's diagnosis. You're making that adjustment to your medication that throws you off. So have you looked back? Do you think it was the diagnosis, or do you think it was just the medication and your thyroid?
No, I've always been fine with my numbers are all over, but I always feel the same. So that's never been, I think it was a stressful situation. And then, Caden was being amazing, but I knew it was just him and me. And then 2 months into it, I started to feel better. And then I think he knew, okay, it's okay for me to break down. So I remember telling him once, you can cry, go downstairs and cry, get it all out. And I just heard him downstairs crying. And then he started to have these thoughts, the intrusive thoughts of killing himself or, grabbing a knife and cutting himself. And it was different because it wasn't, he wanted to do those things. He was having intrusive thoughts that he wouldn't be able to fight the urge to do it. And he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to die, but it was he couldn't come into the kitchen because there were knives in there and he was terrified he was going to grab a knife. He couldn't stay home alone. He was terrified he was going to kill himself. So he was next to me 24/7. I couldn't go anywhere because he had to stay next to me because he knew he was okay when he was next to me.
How long did that go on for?
That was a few months. And the doctor was great. And he was like, it's temporary. He's never had it before. He's not going to have it again. Most likely. He just needs to be on Lexapro or Prozac maybe, until it stops. And it did, but it was the worst 3 months ever because he cried all the time. He was terrified all the time. He couldn't be in the dark. He was just always scared he was going to kill himself. And then if he would say it to me, I would start crying, like the silent cry, but I would start crying because it was terrifying to hear your kid say that, who, just months before had been the happiest kid in the world. It was.
Does he still take the medication?
No, he took it. The doctor said he takes it for 1 year and then it's fine. So I got him off of it. And then he started to have those thoughts again, but I knew it was him because he has a little bit of like the OCD kind of stuff. So if you take something away, he's going to, think that he needed it. So then I started giving him 5-HTP for just a few days until he just forgot that I wasn't giving it to him anymore. But I told him I was still giving him the Prozac, but I was just giving him a more natural until it slowly like dissipated and he forgot about it. And then it was like months later and he realized he hadn't been taking anything.
Interesting. And now it doesn't happen anymore.
Nope, not at all.
Really interesting.
Not at all.
5-HTP, neurotransmitter vegan capsules. Hold on a second. What the hell is that?
It's just like a antidepressant, but a natural. It's what your body produces anyway. The doctor said that we should try that in the beginning with Caden, but it wasn't strong enough by any stretch of the imagination. So
I'm just looking at the reviews. Doesn't do anything. Be careful.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Mailing.
And it also, I think it's one of the ones that like if you're taking an antibiotic, it like takes away the potency of the antibiotic. Sometimes
I read these reviews and I think people like they don't know what they're talking about. Like, or you know what I mean? Like this is amazing. Like my husband started taking this, but the negative side effects are terrible. His feet would go numb.
His eye would twitch. Yeah, people have any side. But I mean, you can have random side effects, but it could also be, it's just like the COVID thing. Like it doesn't have to be COVID.
I love that somebody who's suffering with like massive anxiety, thinks that something they bought on Amazon made their feet go numb.
It's true. And you will do anything to get away from anxiety. That is the absolute worst feeling in the world.
Yeah. This is from Griffonia simplifolia extract seed. Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Yeah. Well, guess what? I don't think it makes your feet go numb. That's just my guess.
I've tried some random shit. I've never heard of that.
Yeah. I think your anxiety makes your feet go numb, but I hear what you're saying. Like, it's just interesting how I'm heading down another road, but people see things and they think, oh, well, this happened and that happened. So obviously it was this. And
it's gotta be.
Yeah. So,
although I will say that Caden he's never sick. Neither of my kids are ever sick. And he had the COVID vaccine and within a couple months he had the diabetes. So I really do think that, and I'm not conspiracy theory at all, but I mean, you hear all the time about that is becoming one of the reasons, the virus and the shot.
Have you ever had your other child tested by TrialNet?
Yeah, she doesn't.
She doesn't have any.
She doesn't have any. And they said that if you were 6 years old or over, it was when you developed the antibodies. So they said that it would be rare to none for her to have it at this point.
Interesting. Well, anyway, what else? What have we not talked about that we were supposed to talk about?
I think that was it. I just think that how bad it was, like just how bad it was, but you get out of it. Like Caden's been great. He's always been 5A1Cs, like always, even the first year, even with him being in control of it, he's always been 5.2, 5.4, 5.6. Like we've never not. So we're handling it and we're great. And I found 2 people on your Facebook group and I wasn't ready for the podcast yet. Like that was just too overwhelming. But the Facebook group was amazing. And I like just intuitively like veered towards these 2 people and I would message them all the time, like in fear. His numbers are going down. How am I catching it? Blah, blah, blah. And they were amazing. And like you'd speak to these people 9,000 times a day when you're scared. And then I haven't spoken to them. Well, one I do every so often, but the other one I haven't spoken to in forever. But they were my mentors on your site and they were amazing. And I just can't imagine where I would be if I didn't know the information that I learned there. Because where else do you learn it? I mean, I joined 20 different sites and then I erased them all in the first, week, except for this one.
That's cool. That's very nice. Sometimes I don't know why it works so well, but I think I know. I think it's just because I don't constrain people.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
And people are kind. Like Facebook groups, people aren't kind, but people are really kind on there. Nobody's judgy.
Yeah, you set the tone. You just set the expectation.
Yeah,
you
100%.
Kind of get it. I've
100%.
just set the expectation for this is how it's going to be. And,
yeah,
and meanwhile, people say things all the time that other people don't agree with or whatever. And I'm like, that's their opinion. Like,
yeah,
don't listen to them if you don't want it. Like, it's, go find
or you'll come on with like the little smart ass thing and then everybody stops.
Once in a while.
Because it's like smart ass, but funny. And then everybody's like, okay, like they pull back and they're like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah. Once in a while, I've got to be like, what is happening? Please stop.
Yeah.
I'm trying to watch a football game.
I agree. I've seen it a couple of times. It's funny. But for the most part, everybody, I mean, you could write 5,000 things the first 6 months. And I feel like most people do that are those kind of people on there. And I know I was one of them. And nobody's ever like, okay, like enough.
There's no way to tell a person, hi, you're having an experience right now that I've watched 10,000 other people have, like it's going to stop if you let it,
right.
But for the moment, it's cool you feel this way. Here's some things that you should like. Nobody can tell you that. Nobody can tell you, hey, you're just in a moment here. Like it'll get through. Here's the path through. You just have to sort of guide them to it and expect that they're going to be, I don't know what the right word is, but like that their senses are going to be elevated at that moment. Like it's why
highly.
people, everyone's just ginned up. Like, you're like, and I'm worried about my kid. I'm worried. I mean, think about it.
You're stuck in the moment.
Yeah. You're worried about your kid. You're look at your kids having those troubles. You're not sure your husband's the right person to help you take care of this. You're feeling alone. You don't like giving injections. Like you start piling all these things on top of each other. And then a random person online says something that you even smell sounds a little crappy. And you're like, oh, finally someone I can yell at.
So I can feel better.
Yeah. I'm going to let this all out right here on them.
Because I got to you like in the hospital. So I never knew any other way but the informational side. But like everybody listens to their endos like as the end all and be all.
Yeah.
Because I'll always see it on there and it's like, he won't let me do this. He won't. And I was never like that because number one, I had a great endo who was like, tell me what you think we should do. And if I wasn't ready to do that, then he would do it for me. But if I was, we would sit and discuss it back and forth.
Yeah.
He wanted me to be, independent. I had to be at some point, but I see all these people that are like, no, he won't let me do it. So now they're sitting in the 300s. And I was like, I can't imagine any other way but doing it on my own because that's the only way that I learned.
Right. Yeah. I'm watching a person online right now. His kid just went out of honeymoon and the blood sugars are like super high. Mm-hmm. And they, they moved the kid's basal. I forget what it was. Like the basal's 0.5. They made it like 0.6. And she's like, now you wait 3 days. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh no.
Yeah. And
oh my God. I've restarted Caden more times than anyone with like strong ass basals because I'm like, nope, I'm not getting stuck in this. It's
such an interesting thing because I get why it all happens and I get why the doctor doesn't want you to like go yakking it all the way up and like creating a different problem. But my goodness, like the kid's pancreas was working and now it's not. And you were able to like, you gave them an extra 0.1 units of basal an hour. Like,
is that what it is though? Like, are they just scared of number one, the liability and scared of hurting that? Like, why aren't they teaching the correct information? Because they're not.
Yeah, that's just, I think it's because they're not with you. So they're like, well, just turn it up a little bit, wait 3 days to regulate it. That part, I have to be honest with you, I never understood. Like, I don't know what the hell is going to be different tomorrow. Like, I think they want you to titrate up slowly and then we'll see if it works. Whereas I'm a little more of the mind of like, why don't we get it closer to where it needs to be? And then we can like dial it back if we have to. Like the reason I think about it that way is because of the torture that happens in between when you do tiny bit, like, because you're like, it's not working. And then you can't just relax and wait. You start thinking about other things. Now you're changing 5 different things. You don't even know what the hell you did anymore. Yeah. And it's confusion.
Plus in the beginning, your kids are high. So you seeing that high number is terrifying.
Yeah. I also think that if you think 0.1 units of basal an hour is going to change a 350 blood sugar, you might not understand what you're talking about. So that's true. Yeah, that's probably not going to handle it.
No, I changed Caden from 0.07, I think, to 1 unit when I restarted it. And that made a big difference.
Yeah. No, listen, once you're close, tiny adjustments can make a big difference. But when you're that far away, like,
yeah, they don't.
Like, come on. Anyway.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, okay. So you have a CGM. I heard you say that.
Yeah, we had the MDI for 6 months, and there was a friend named Alan, and he was always like, "You're going to change. You're going to change." And I was like, "No, I'm never am." Like, people do fine on MDI, and I was waiting for Caden to be okay with it, and we would discuss it all the time. And we finally, like 6 months later, we're like, "Okay, let's try this." And then the second it was on, I was like, "Oh, like I don't believe in religion, but like heavens opened up, and it was amazing."
What kind of
pump?
It
was amazing.
What pump did you get?
Omnipod 5.
Okay. You enjoying it? It's working for you?
It's amazing.
Good.
It really is. Like, I couldn't see the tubes. Like, I just couldn't see the tubes. To me, that just sounds hellish.
I have to admit, that's my first thought when I saw Omnipod all those years ago. I was like, oh, there's no tubing. That's better.
Yeah.
That's how it felt.
And we were perfect timing with it because it was like the algorithm, the Dexcom, the Omnipod, like it was the perfect timing.
Yeah.
Not that there's a perfect time, but yeah, no, it's the best thing ever. I mean, every fear went away. And I think the fear of giving insulin also, because it's sort of separate. You're not looking at it. You're not pushing it. You're just playing with this phone and, putting in numbers. So that took away the fear, because we would never give him more than 3 and then more than 7. And now, he's taking 20 for some things if he wants some big carby thing. That's okay. I don't think twice about it, because it's just going into this separate thing that's not on him.
Right. Hey, earlier you said that the podcast felt like too much in the beginning.
It was way too overwhelming, because Alan always used to be like, you have to listen, because he was like, you have to read the entire manual of the Omnipod 5. You have to do this. Like, I can't. I'm not one of those people. I don't process very well. I can't. So I have to do it in my time, and I have to see it and blah, blah, blah. So for me, the Facebook group was saving, but it was just too much of a rabbit hole. And I remember I heard you say something about you could die if you gave too much insulin, or something about you could die if you did this. And it was like the 3rd or 4th day that he had been diagnosed. I was like, nope, I'm not listening to this stuff. No way. And now I realized, like, that's reality. But in the beginning, it was like, oh God, you don't want to hear what can happen.
Did you go back to it eventually?
I'm sure. I've listened to a lot of the podcasts, and I've heard you say that other times before, that this can happen and it's reality. But I just think it's like, newly diagnosed, that fear is already so strong that for me, I just need a gentler, like, things can happen.
Did you know it before you heard it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought he was going to go into the abyss every time, because yet again, like for Dexcom, they don't teach you that those arrows are the trends of the past, not your 80 double down. And that means you're going to go 80 minus 90. Now you're negative 10 and you're dead. It was predictive, yes, but like those arrows were from what had happened the last 30 minutes or whatever it is, however many minutes. They didn't teach you that. So I literally thought he was going to die every time there was an arrow down, or like he went outside to play. And this was like this ignorant, like not rude, but like ignorant, not knowing of me. I messaged the endo and I was like, if he doesn't have insulin that gives him the energy and everything else and the sugars that he needs for energy, then how is he running outside and playing? Isn't he going to run out of something? Do I need to be like replenishing him to even be able to play? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you were all over the place for a while.
Yeah, because I just didn't know.
Yeah. Well, it teaches you, that's for sure. I'm just
does.
like, from my perspective about management stuff specifically, like I think that Bold Beginning series is really good if you're newly diagnosed. Then once you want to dig into it a little more, I think the Pro Tip series like walks you through like bigger ideas. Yeah.
The management stuff is definitely great. And that's what you need in the beginning.
Yeah.
I personally like the After Darks, and I like the stories. So I listen to those more. But yeah, in the beginning, you definitely need the management things.
Yeah. My biggest problem is, this is not a big problem, obviously. Things are going fine. But the Facebook group gains 150 new members about every 4 days.
Yeah.
That's pretty consistent over the last couple of years, actually. Like, I would like to translate some of them into podcast listeners, but it just doesn't work as quickly as you would think.
No, it's exactly what I would think. I think that, they found this perfect place. So why do they need to do more? And you don't get that it doesn't have to be in addition to, like, the podcast is great. I love listening to the podcast. We listen to it every time in the car, even with my son sitting next to me. That's what we listen to in the car when we drive.
Right.
But the Facebook group, I feel like just serves another kind of purpose. It's like that instant, I need help.
Yeah, it took me a while to realize that I have two entities.
You do, 100%.
But as the person who makes the podcast, it's upsetting because if even a percentage of those people would always, like every 4 days, become podcast listeners, this podcast would be the biggest thing on the planet. Like you don't realize it doesn't take, like, you know, beyond the top 2% of podcasts, which I'm not getting to, like none of us are getting to, you know what I mean? Like it's usually comedy and, you know, or like broad reaching like health stuff that really like grabs like millions of downloads, like a day or something like that. But this thing, like if just a small percentage of these people would become podcast listeners, like this podcast would get into a space where it would be huge.
Yeah. But you know why though? Like it is separate and you know that you're in the background, but you're not a strong presence in there. And I don't mean that rudely, but like,
no, in the Facebook group,
you're not always in the forefront and commenting and doing these things. You comment when you need to, but it's definitely its own entity, like you said, where you would have to be so strong in it, like posting something every day or, you know, a little excerpt from one of your podcasts. You would have to be a way stronger presence in there.
Yeah, somebody would have to be in there just like beating a drum constantly.
Yes. Yeah, because, you know, just your words, like even Facebook Lives or things like that, but you're definitely in the background for that. You've created it and it's amazing, but you're definitely in the background for it where, you know, people aren't thinking of you the second that they're on there
that Facebook.
Because they don't see your face. They don't see you post something every day to teach them something or not to teach them something, you know.
No,
I mean?
I take your point. Like, it's funny too, because there's two ways to look at it. First of all, I am actually in there every day. I answer questions every day.
No, I see you answer, but not and I don't mean it rudely at all.
No.
And I see
I'm taking you correctly. It's just, it's not an overwhelming presence.
Right.
But that's important because it's not about me. I shouldn't be in there like, and I want other people's voices. Also, if I chime in, sometimes it stops other people from talking.
Yes, I agree.
Right. So I need to let them there's a whole back and that thing that happened in the first year when it was basically podcast listeners who were like, hey, we'd like a Facebook group to talk about the podcast. And when I first started that, everyone knew who I was.
Oh, until it got bigger.
And now as it's gotten bigger, either people sometimes are like, what, like, who are you? And I'm like, hey, I'm the whole fucking reason this thing exists. Like, but they don't,
that's true.
They don't know me at all. It's kind of like nice, but interesting at the same time.
You honestly need to do some like Facebook Lives where you have like this many people that can join and then they sit and discuss it in that circle with you, like questions and just, you could pick topics and, you know, the more you actually, your presence was seen on there, it would make a huge difference.
It's written on 13 different whiteboards in this room. So don't worry. I'm just trying to get to, I finally got the editing off my plate and now I'm building up a new workflow and I've almost got it together now. And it is creating more time for me. So I am going to be doing that, but
it would make a huge difference.
Yeah. I'm just saying there's this like little part inside you that's just like, oh, come on, just do it.
I got 50,000 people here. Come on. No, I agree.
Just a couple of you. Come on. Like, and not that some of them aren't. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of them are. I'm talking about like, and why is that important if you're listening? Like when you grow the podcast and it starts getting more and more and more listeners translate to downloads. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps the advertisers happy. And you think, oh, it's about money. It's about keeping the advertisers coming back.
You can keep doing what you're doing.
So you can keep making the podcast. Because as soon as they're gone, I don't know if you heard this conversation with Laurie, but my wife's going to expect me to go make money somewhere. So
yeah, that's true.
Apparently it's not about the bubbly feeling in her stomach anymore. So I'm going to need to pay for some. And so like being serious, like you're trying to help people. I need their help to help them. They don't realize that. Like I need them to listen to the podcast so I can keep helping them because, you know, things like the Bold Beginnings series or the pro tips or even getting the pro tips remastered so they sound better because they were older, like whatever, like all of that stuff, that all takes time, a massive amount of time. And it takes money. And the money comes from the advertisers. And if you said to me, we'll drop the advertising and charge people for the podcast, that wouldn't work. People won't pay for things. That's not how that goes.
Even if it's a little bit. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So even like I've gone all through it. It's just not It's not a model.
There just needs to be some better weaving through.
Yeah. No, I got to figure it. I thought I had it for a while, Laurie, with group experts leaving links for episodes, which I do think is really important. I think it helps move. Like the way I try to think of it is someone comes and asks a question. And if a group expert kind of like swoops in and goes, hey, this episode of the podcast might help you with that, or you should try this series or something like that. That's not just for the person asking the question. That's for every other person that reads through the thread. And it's not about driving them to the podcast as much as it is about saying, like, here's where the answers are. Like, go look here.
But it still needs to be more you.
They're not me. And so it doesn't count as much in people's minds for some reason.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. No, trust me. I've got the whole thing figured out. I just have to do it. So, like I said, getting the editor should have opened up my times that I could do this more. So you're going to see a lot of that from me in the next year. So we'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, you'll know, because I'm just going to lay on the floor and just like give up. So.
It'll work.
Yeah,
it'll work. You have a huge following.
No,
it'll definitely work. There's no way it won't.
You're very kind.
And plus that, the people that are on there so desperately need to be on there. So it's not like, I don't need to look at this. Let me go find another site.
I actually like doing it too.
Yeah.
But you don't recognize too, when you answer somebody, like when a regular person says, oh, I see something on Facebook, here's my answer to that. You don't feel a pressure to go back to see if the person answered you again and has a different question. Like I'm now, like, every thread I get involved in is an hour of my life. Like it just
because they're like, oh, I caught you while you're here.
Oh my God, Scott's here. Hey, I'm at a 35. And then, by the way, then my messages start rolling in. Scott's in front of his computer. Ding, 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 ding. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and that's it. So like you do that once and then you're caught.
Yeah. I think it's like fame mentality too. It's like, oh, I want a phone. I'm on the computer. Let me catch him while I can.
Yeah. And that's couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth. I just met somebody in person the other day and they're like, can I get a picture? And I'm like, yeah, but why?
Yeah, no, I don't have fame mentality in my head either, but I can see why some people would, where it's like,
Yeah, no, I was like, I'll take a picture with you. I don't know what you're going to do with that, but yeah, go ahead. Anyway, okay. Well, Laurie, thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. Definitely don't let your husband listen to this.
I will never.
Yeah. What are we going to call this episode?
Being content. I don't know.
Being content? Is that what it? Wait a minute. This is fun. I've never done this before. Seriously, what do you think we talked about?
Oh, I feel like all we talked about was my husband.
That was in the beginning.
I don't know. It's so funny when somebody asks me like a question head on it, my processing just stops. Yeah. It has to be something related to the husband.
I love it when people come to me and they're like, you should call it something better. I'm like, you good. You go listen back to it and tell me what to call it. I
know you should call it. It's okay. I'll do it.
I'll do it.
It's okay. I'll do it, because that's what I always end up saying. Forget it. It's okay. I'll do it, because there's just no purpose to anybody else doing it. Let me just do it. I say it all the time. It's okay. I'll do it.
So just your passive aggressive comment to your family.
Yes. I really want you to help me do it, but I know you won't, or you won't do it as well as me. So it's okay. I'll do it.
Why don't I just call it you? I'll get it.
You totally should. It's pretty much the same concept.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. By the way, okay, it's okay. I'll do it. I just don't like the apostrophe in the title. Wait a minute.
Or I got it. How about I got? No, I don't like I got it.
No, I got it. Makes it sound like you're doing it willfully. It's okay. I'll do it. Makes it sound like I'm only doing it because the rest of you will let me down.
You could make that. That'd be a little long. It's got to be something to that context. It has to be.
All right.
Passive. I just want you to just write passive aggressive much.
Question mark. All right. Well,
it serves the same purpose.
I'll figure it out. I got somebody got me online the other day and said, the description for my episode is hilarious. It says Alex has type 1 diabetes.
Oh my God.
And she goes, well, that's true, but we talked about a lot more. And I'm like, I don't know what we talked about by the time it's over. And by the way, are people really pulling up episodes and looking at the descriptions?
I do.
Do you really?
Yeah. No, I really do.
Fuck, really? Okay.
Yeah. Because I like the grittier stories. So I always, yes, I think a lot of people do.
Oh, I listen to podcasts. I never look at the descriptions.
No, you definitely have to write descriptions, even if it's 2 or 3 sentences, because people definitely look at that.
All right. So I'm gonna say, get a description writer. All right, that's why I need you to listen. So the episodes get ads, so the ads give me money, and the money I can hire a description writer with.
Yeah, description's easy. It's 3 sentences. Anybody could do that.
Oh,
but
my
yeah,
God.
it makes people want, it's the same as a book. Like, I'm not going to read Alex has type 1 diabetes.
No,
Like,
I'm telling you right now, it is not easy.
I'm sure.
Because I've done this in the past where I said to everybody, here, everybody take 10 episodes and like give me your descriptions back. Some people write a book. I'm like, no, 2 sentences.
2 sentences. Yeah.
They can't do that. And because how do you describe this? Because like, look, if I was being really serious about this, I'd say Laurie doesn't trust her husband. She had panic attacks when her child was diagnosed and her kid had intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, like you don't want to say everything that's happening in the story, but you have to give some kind of generalization for the story. I definitely wouldn't say this, and this happened, but
also I don't think that's what we talked about. I think we talked about mistrust and the anxiety that comes with being in charge of something and not wanting someone to get hurt. I think we talked about pressure and stress. I think we talked about how hard things are in the beginning, but how they get easier as they go on. And to say that this is about what it looked like on the surface, I don't think is right. And that's why this episode ends up being called, like, It's Okay, I'll Do It. Laurie's child has type 1 diabetes, and the beginning was difficult. That's what I'll end up doing, something like that.
Or trust, or you could call it trust issues. I do want to say, though, really quick, like my son was amazing. Like he did it from day one with me, and now he is independent at school. He does it all by himself. I don't do anything. Like I definitely watch, or like when he's sleeping, I fix it, but he 100% has it himself. So it's
terrific.
definitely
Good for him. And good for you. Obviously it all worked out, but just it's tough going,
Yeah. I think you should just call it trust issues. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Like honestly.
Well, if it doesn't matter to you, then It's Okay, I'll do it.
If you guys were all famous, it would just be called your name. But that's I can't do that because you're all not famous who come on. Like when you go listen to another podcast, like Smartless doesn't say like this guy has trouble with this in his new business. They just go Peyton Manning. And you go, oh, I know who that is.
I want to listen to him. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, so I'm stuck. It's all your fault for not being famous.
Nor do I want of it.
No, trust me. I have the tiniest bit of fame. It is really a little tiny piece of it. And it's weird. So
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
So you look up in a grocery store somewhere and see someone staring at you. And you're like,
is
this like a podcast thing? Or do I have something hanging out of my nose? Like what's going on right now?
He looks skinnier in person. Yeah.
And then someone goes, Juicebox. And you go, oh, okay. I see where this is going. I'm like, hi. I'm trying to buy this iced tea.
Now I can't grab the 6 gallons of ice cream.
I was going to also buy condoms and chew, which I wasn't going to get either of.
But you don't need,
now I can't do that. I'll have to wait till I actually one time left a store and walked the wrong way so someone wouldn't see my car.
No,
I didn't know
really?
what else. Because I was like, well, I don't, like, it felt like too personal.
Oh, not that what kind of car you had, just too personal.
No, just in general. Like, I didn't want them to like be able to find me.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's the same reason you don't use names and things like that when you're writing things. I get it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just going to walk this way. And then when you're not looking, I'll go back over that way.
Circle around. That's funny.
It's not I mean, why would it's happening to you? When it's happening to you, you're like, this is weird. So, and
even more so for you, because they're like, oh my God, I had no control over this horrible thing. And now look at me. So they're going to look up to you even more, which is nice.
Did not expect any of this to happen. That's for sure. So, okay. Yeah. All right. I am going to say goodbye and then hold on 1 second. I have a question for you when we're done.
So, all right. Sounds good. Thanks
so much. Let's get you ahead of that FOMO. Omnipod.com/juicebox. Go get yourself an Omnipod 5. And let's thank who? Oh, AG1. AG1 is, of course, sponsoring this episode of the podcast, and you can get it right now at drinkag1.com/juicebox. I want to thank the Eversense CGM for sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Learn more about its implantable sensor, smart transmitter, and terrific mobile application at eversensecgm.com/juicebox. Get the only implantable sensor for long-term wear. Get Eversense. If you or a loved one was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and you're looking for some fresh perspective, The Bold Beginnings series from the Juicebox Podcast is a terrific place to start. That series is with myself and Jenny Smith. Jenny is a CDCES, a registered dietitian, and a type 1 for over 35 years. And in the Bold Beginnings series, Jenny and I are going to answer the questions that most people have after a type 1 diabetes diagnosis. The series begins at episode 698 in your podcast player, or you can go to juiceboxpodcast.com and click on Bold Beginnings in the menu. I know that Facebook has a bad reputation, but please give the private Facebook group for the Juicebox Podcast a healthy once-over. Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes. The group now has 47,000 members in it. It gets 150 new members a day. It is completely free, and at the very least, you can watch other people talk about diabetes. And everybody is welcome. Type 1, Type 2, gestational, loved ones, everyone is welcome. Go up into the featured tab of the private Facebook group, and there you'll see lists upon lists of all of the management series that are available to you for free in the Juicebox Podcast. Becoming a member of that group, I really think it will help you. It will at least give you community. You'll be able to kind of lurk around, see what people are talking about, pick up some tips and tricks. Maybe you can ask a question or offer some help. Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. If you're not already subscribed or following in your favorite audio app, please take the time now to do that. It really helps the show. And get those automatic downloads set up so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.